I'm actually in the back making parts, so where you'll see lots and lots of bits of things, but I'm sure that you guys won't mind just having a look at that as well. Hello, Hunter and Carly. How are you, my loves? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing super well. It's a bit cold for anyone doing markets at the moment, and I really hope you do super well because I know markets are quite hard. Now, today I'm going to give away a few places that I've actually found. So I've actually been doing a bit of research for everyone about different places that you can be vendoring in and events, and we'll talk about the costs as well. I do have a little bit of experience in this for myself and also for my daughter who I've been helping at the moment. But that's what we've been doing at the moment. So let's get into that. Hi, Karen. You are not late, my love. I've literally just started a minute ago. So we're just going to be talking about vending at different events and, you know, the costs and whether you should be eventing there and so on. Hello, Rainbow. How are you going, my love? Welcome. So now let's get straight into this, everybody. So now we're going to be talking, like I said, about events, selling. Is it worth it? Should you be doing these events yet? Now, there is a lot of research behind the background before you go into doing big events, and I have done some of the really big you know, vending events, you know, such as Reed gift fairs and places like that, and you know, it takes a lot of work to get there, and there's no good getting there if your product, your labeling, everything isn't right. You know, I'm going to be honest here because there is a lot of money involved. It costs a huge amount of money to do these vending events, and I'll give you a couple prices that I do know of personally. So, you know, we're kind of going to go through that. And I will also tell you the events, so then you can Google them and have a look for yourself. So now there's a few things that we want to talk about. Vending at these big events. Now, we're not talking about a market. We're talking bigger than that. So, you know, events like festivals. I'm looking down because I do have them all written down. Festivals, expos, of course, shows and fairs. They're really good. And when I talk about shows, I'm saying, you know, like, for instance, in Australia, we have one called the Melbourne Show. It's a huge, huge event. It's like a big fair where they have rides and everything, and they have vendors and so on. Now, people are there to spend money, so they're actually a good one to go. Hello, Chrissy, my friend. Welcome, my love. So that's a good one. Also, pop-ups. We all know of pop-ups in your local shopping centres. But I'm not going to concentrate on those ones as much because they're not as lucrative as some of the other ones that we're going to be talking about today. So now let's start from the beginning. I'll kind of go through a few of them. So when we're talking about festivals are, you know, like, so I did one with my daughter the start of this year at a festival, which was out, I've got to remember where, Port Fairy, that's where it was. So in Victoria, the higher part of Victoria, it's a couple hours from where we lived, I think 3.5. And look, it was a absolutely beautiful place, beautiful festival. And so basically everyone listened to the music on one end, and then during the breaks of the music, which went over a 2.5 day span, then they would come and buy things from the vendors, and the vendors were all set up in the main street, and there was probably, I'm going to say maybe 40 vendors. I can't remember, but I'm going to say roughly 40, maybe a little less. But it was very lucrative, and if we consider the price we paid, you know, to vendor there compared to the money we took at the end of the day, that is one of the most lucrative ones that we've done to date. And, you know, I'm not talking just about me. I also help my daughter that has an earring company. So when we actually went up there, it only cost roughly $400, I think, to vendor there. So it was pretty cheap. And it was a really, hello, my love, welcome. So yeah, and sorry, I'm answering questions as we go along, everybody. So I'm sorry if I go off track because they do get me a little rattled. But anyway, we did the festival there. It was very lucrative. We took over $5,000 so in a couple days. So it was very, very good. But you know, I'm going to say there are some that cost more that you don't take as much money. So you kind of have to do sometimes some of these festivals to see. And I'll also say that depending on what you sell. So if you sell earrings compared to maybe soap or candles, maybe it's going to be different. The girls that were next to us were candle makers, and they pretty much took the same amount, very similar to us. So it's not just because my daughter sells earrings and bags and things like that. A lot of it was that. Now, you've got to remember, when they're going to a festival, they're going to have fun. They've saved money. They're taking their money to say as well. Oh, you only do, yeah, Karen, you do ones locally. Yeah, and we're not talking about small, like normal markets. These are big festivals that attract tens of thousands of people. That's why I thought that we would talk about that as well. Oh, hi, love. How are you? I hope you're doing well, Rachel. So now, like I said, we're talking about, festivals, and people are there to spend money. And lots of people that we had lots of kids that were teenagers, and they said, oh, mum's given me $200 for the weekend. So then they were obviously buying whatever they wanted because they had money. Where if they went to a normal market, their mum's not going to give them $200. She might give them $10 and say, go and buy yourself a little gift. So that's the difference. People are coming with bigger amounts of money, and they're willing to spend at a festival. There's plenty of festivals, so just look in your local town. And with ours, with my daughter and me, we just Googled everything. Sometimes it's word of mouth. You'll hear other people talking about it, and then you go, look, let's just give it a go. Oh, you do two big ones as well, Karen. Yeah, and she was saying at a strawberry festival. And that's what I mean. Look around. There's so many different ones that we're still finding now. Like I said, helping my daughter a few times, and I've gone interstate with her. And of course, I've done my own as well in the past. So that's a little bit about festivals. So basically, you just go online, you'll fill out their application form. They will look at your website. So you do need a website, and you need your packaging and your products looking beautiful, because no one's going to buy them if they're not looking amazing. So just make sure your labeling is right, your product's right, your photography is pretty good. And as you all know, I take my own photos myself on an iPhone. I don't have a camera or anything. You can get really good at it, and the longer I do this, the better I've got at it. So I will say that it takes time to get really good at doing these things. It's just practice, practice makes better. I don't like saying practice makes perfect, but it makes better. So that's something anyway. Now, the second one we'll talk about is expos. Now, when we're talking about expos, and I'm going to give you a list of them in a minute, so get your papers ready. So now when we're talking about expos, they're ones, so for instance, if it is, let's pretend it is Supernova. So Supernova is like a Comic-Con sort of, cartoon character kind of one. Now, people are coming to see the characters. They obviously really love that kind of thing. I'm sure Disney and places like that have their own ones as well. But, for Supernova and places like that, so people come with money. They want to spend to buy products that are in what they're looking for. So if they love... for instance, if they love Donald Duck, they're going to come and look for that. But please make sure you have licensing to sell anything. Do not sell it if you don't have licensing. It's super important. You may get people coming around and checking your stall to see that that you have a license to do that. So it's really important. But anyway, they're what expos are. So, my daughter and I did one in Sydney, which was called the Drag Expo. And that was obviously for drag queens. So people came to see their favourite drag queens. And that is there's a show called RuPaul's Drag Race, which my daughter and I watch. We love it. And on that particular show, a lot of people see the characters. They have a panel. It's really fun. But there's also lots of people vendoring there. And different things from earrings to T-shirts to jewelry, gloves, you name it, candles, doesn't matter. There's lots of different people vendoring there. So don't just think, oh, well, it's a drag one. Do they really want somebody that's going to sell candles? Yes, they do. We sold candles on the day as well. So yeah, so try and sort of think outside the square a little bit. So that's one that we did in Sydney. So one's if we're talking about the Drag Expo, they do one in Sydney, they do one in Melbourne, they also do Queensland. So often what happens is they will do them in different states. And I know in the US they have a huge one. I just can't remember what it's called. But if you have a look, I think it's called a Drag Expo, or might be Queens Queens for Queens or something like that in the US. I can't remember. I'll see if I can remember this. They did talk about it when I was in Sydney. But these ones, they're just so popular, you know, and your products don't have to represent that particular thing. They just have to represent what you think people might want to buy on the day. So, you know, and look, I will tell you that everyone is different that comes to these events. You'll get older people, younger people, kids sometimes come to all different events. But generally, I sort of market that mid-market of 17 to 50-year-olds. That's kind of my main market. Hello, Herbs and Berries. How are you, my darling? Yes, you did catch me live. So that's what we're going to talk about with the expo. So, and I will give you, like I said, we get to the end, I'll leave you all the details of ones as well. Yeah, it was really cool, Karen. I loved it. I actually live out in Gippsland, and they needed a mum or dad to chaperone a pride. They had like a pride dance for teenage kids at school, and I put my hand up and said, sure, I'll chaperone. I think there might have been 70 kids. I ended up chaperoning. This were teenagers, you know, 15-year-olds, to a dance. And it was super fun, and they had some queens there, and the kids loved it. They had a great time, and it was just like a little dance that they could go to, and they had like, you know, some you know, just some food on the tables and stuff, and then we all got back in a bus, and the parents picked them up at the end, you know, when we dropped them off in the main town. So, you know, there's lots of things that you can do and be involved in community, and I'm all about inclusion for absolutely everybody. So, you know, and don't think you need to, like when you're doing an expo, say like a gay expo or something, you don't need to have products that are like that as well. Oh, yes, Karen, my daughter's booth did look amazing. It really did. Yeah, she does a great job. Everything's hot pink. So her company's Honey Blue U, if anyone wants to check her out. It's just honeyblueu.com. And yeah, like I said, you know, just make sure that, you know, when you're going, you don't have to, if you're going to, you know, like a drag festival, you don't have to have all rainbow products. Not everybody wants all rainbow products. And if I'm going to be honest, the ones that we took that were rainbow sort of themed did not sell. So, you know, yeah, so everybody, the wider community, everyone comes to those events. So anyway, like I said, that was one that we did that was super good. Had a great time. It's a fairly new event in Australia. Like I said, the Drag Expo is fairly new, but it is definitely a really good one as well. Oh, thank you, Chrissy. Yeah, no, I had no problem chaperoning. I had a great time. I had a great time with the young kids. They loved it. So, you know, anyway, that's a bit about that. And also now another one is really good is shows and fairs. So fairs like, you know, like I said, if we're talking about the Melbourne show or Sydney or Queensland show or ones in America, I know they have lots of them. So basically what happens is, you know, you'll have all of these particular do I do small themed? No, I don't do any themed things that I don't have a license for, lovely. Somebody was just asking, do I do Alice in Wonderland? I don't, because I don't have a license for that. So you'll notice anything on my site, you know, it's only if I have a license for doing that. So everything that I personally do myself is something that I, you know, make myself, or I own the rights to. So and my daughter's, I'm not sure, I don't get into that. It's just whatever she does on her site. But she actually has a cutting machine, like a laser cutting machine. So she actually laser cuts her own earrings and things like that. So, and a lot of her things are bags that are just fluffy and colourful and so on. Yeah, you're right, Karen. You do have to be careful. And, you know, you've got to remember that somebody has spent a long time and a lot of money creating these things. So that's why I don't do all of those things as well. Do I think it's a good idea to sell cosmetics, creams at those kind of places? Sure. Sure, if you've made your own products, it's whatever somebody likes. I mean, people come for all different things. So, you know, I mean, my daughter's store is majority earrings. So people did come for earrings, but we sold, you know, honestly, at that one, we sold a lot of bags, a lot of like fluffy bags, gloves, I'm trying to think what else. Mirrors, lots of mirrors. She has mirrors that she just writes quotes on. Like she'll say like, be amazing, be you. You know, she has some swear word ones that people think are fun. That's not my thing for my site, but that's what she does. And she has a really young market. So I'd say her market's probably 13-year-olds to probably 30. That's her main market. So, you know, a younger market than me. But anyway, you know, so yeah, so like bags, earrings, things like that. Oh, bracelets, sold lots of bracelets. So yeah, you can do lots of other things of that as well. Oh, Alice in Wonderland's a public domain. And actually, do you know what? I found out this the other day that Winnie the Pooh does not have the license now. So it's anyone can sell that. Don't quote me. Please look and do your own due diligence. But I was told that the trademark that Winnie the Pooh has actually ran out, and that's why they were able to make that movie. That there was like a scary movie with Winnie the Pooh masks, and that's why, because the license had ran out after 100 years of them, because you have a 100-year license. So that's why. I mean, yes, they can probably renew it, and I'm sure they will. But yeah, so I did get told that with Winnie the Pooh. So I think you got to look into that as well. So yeah, sometimes if the license runs out, then anyone can make things like that. I still personally wouldn't. It's just me, because I didn't design that. So that's just how I sort of roll. But like I said, it's a total personal decision. And if you're buying things off AliExpress, Shein, don't think they have licenses, because a lot of them they don't. And people buy, you know, it might be Mickey Mouse on there, and they think, oh well, I bought it from a site, it must be legal. Well, sometimes it's not. So that's, you got to do your due diligence, but I won't go into that today. That's for you to, you know, we've got to be responsible as a business owner to whether you're comfortable selling whatever you sell. I would only sell something that is legal, and that I have the rights to, but that's just my company, and that's just, I guess, my ethics personally, you know. So anyway, so that's a bit about that. Like I said, shows and fairs, they are really good. So if you go to different shows, like I said, the Melbourne show. So now let's talk about the cost. So if we're talking about the drag festival, to have a 3x3 meter, we're talking Aussie dollars as well. So 3x3 meter, I think it's with GST included, it's $1,200, which is pretty cheap actually, because that goes for 2 days. So and generally you might make $4,000. So, you know, you got to add up your costs and whether it's worth it for you as well. So generally, to give you an idea, that's for the drag festival that we did. If we're talking about the show, like the Melbourne show, it's up to $11,000 a booth, dollars. So a huge amount of money. I almost choked when I seen that price. But obviously people, you know, sell a lot. So, but you can have a smaller booth. I think the smaller one's about 5,000. So if we work out the amount for the larger booth, I think that might be a 6x6 meter. Yeah, Rainbow, it's huge, isn't it? I mean, I could never afford that. But at the Royal Melbourne Show, if you're doing, you know, the bigger booth, it works out to be over $2,000 a day. So, I mean, you want to sell $5,000 a day. I mean, you really do want to take huge money for that to be worth it, because it is a risk. Let's be honest, it's a risk. And, you know, I've had people say that they don't, oh, you don't think you can afford markets, Rainbow? Yeah, but and when we're talking about this, Rainbow, we are talking about, yeah, about $7,500 US, lovely. Yeah, you're right. For that. But, you know, when we're talking about these ones, we're talking about, these are festivals, huge festivals that attract tens of thousands of people, sometimes 100,000 people. So, you know, the numbers are there. Whereas your local market, you may only get 1,000 people through the door. So, you know, it does work out. If I talk about the one that I talked about at the start, that I did with my daughter in Port Fairy, then she took over $5,000, and that one was only $400 over 2 days. So, you know, that was very lucrative, but she might have just been in a really good time. Sometimes you might do those and take half the amount of money. And also, we're in a time of not very good times at the moment. Yeah, it was very good, Rainbow. But then there's other ones. So you just need to really think about it as well. Oh, if you work at a big one, yeah, if you work at Now, somebody's just saying about working alone. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When you do ones like the drag festivals, or if you're doing ones, even like Port Fairy, you can't do it alone. You can't. You need two people. I'm not going to lie. You do. When me and my daughter did the Port Fairy one, we were busy the whole time. We had no time that was quiet. It was very busy. So you really did need, the only time my daughter could go off and go to the toilet and come back, but you could not expect the person next door to run your store. It's not going to happen. You need two people. So I suggest take a friend. If you have a parent, a sister, brother, if you have anyone that you can take with you. And I'll talk about how it works as well. So when we did the drag festival, what actually happens the day before you do the festival, they will give you a bump in time, and then you go to the back. So you'll come up a loading bay with all of your stuff, whether it's in a car, a truck, whatever. So they'll give you maybe 40 minutes to unload it. You unload all the stuff, dump it in your site. Then you've got to move your car. Then you come back in, you park your car in a car park, wherever that is. And then you've got to come back in and set up everything that you're going to set up at your stall. And usually parking a day is up to $50 or $100 a day to park, so on some of these places. And unless you're prepared to walk for 20 minutes, that's just what you have to pay. I think we paid maybe $40 a day in Sydney, so it was quite expensive. Once again, we're talking AU dollars. So yeah, so once you, like I said, put all your things in, then they will give you about depends how many hours, and depends which venue, but 5 to 8 hours to set up your whole booth. If it's indoors, you get to leave it. But when we did Port Fairy, we had to set it all up, and then we had to take it away at night and then set it up again. So 3 days of pulling it down, setting it up. So that was a bit more of a headache because it was in the main street. But if it's in like an exhibition building or something, you can leave the stuff there. Yeah, it's a bit funny, Karen. I mean, it just depends on the place. Look, I've had people say to me they've earned massive amounts of money. They've literally earned 4 months' money in one day. But it just depends on the venue. Now, you've also got other ones where we're talking about pop-up shops. I don't have a lot of experience in pop-up shops, but it's when you basically put your products inside a shopping centre. It's just a little pop-up. You might have it only there for a month or 2 months or a couple weeks. They are expensive, but once again, they have the foot traffic. But I mean, a lot of shops I've noticed at the moment are not that busy. So I just don't know how people would do with that. I'm not sure of the prices of pop-ups, but like I said, we will talk about the other ones as well. Now, let me just look at my notes. So now I'm going to give you a few places. So basically what I did is I just Googled a lot of these places as well. Yeah, you need to, yeah, you're right, lovely. You do need to work on a lot of displays. So if you're doing these, remember that you can't just have and I've seen this at other expos we've done where people have just had, like a typical table you'd set up at a market, which is a trestle table with a tablecloth. It doesn't look good. I'm going to be honest here. It doesn't look good. It looks cheap and it looks like you don't know what you're doing. You need to have some sort of setup. There's lots of collapsible shelving units and things. And sometimes these expos, you can actually hire the unit from them. You might say, I want, for instance, 5 shelves, and you can hire that. So you don't have to bring it. They just bring it and you pay them several $100s, whatever it is. I don't know. But for me, there's lots of really great ones you can get at IKEA that look really professional, and do make sure your signage is good. I've seen people that have gone with the trestle table in the middle, no signage, and it looks cheap and nasty and they sell nothing. So please do your homework, and you've got to apply for all of these. So even if your site's not good, they look at that and go, well, if your site's not good, how good's your setup going to be? So you need to really work on everything. And you want it to be consistent. So basically most of them, they will actually have walls like this. So Hopefully I'm showing it right. So, like an L shape kind of at either end. And usually the back wall, what it is, it will just be like sort of a carpet wall. And then that means you can put Velcro things on. But what a lot of people do is they buy like tinsel and things and just hang them up, which is only like a few dollars. And that way your black wall is covered with something else, like some pretty pink sort of things. And you can also get things made as well. So I know they're very expensive, but you can actually get like lycra sheens made that sit on those, so that you've got your color or your branding in the background. You can also go to places like Vistaprint and get poster boards made up. They're pretty cheap, $50 for a massive poster board. That's what I would be doing. That's probably the cheapest option for signage, is getting a foam board made up, and then you can take it. You can also get ones that are weatherproof from them. I'm not affiliated at all with Vistaprint, but I do buy from them, so I know some things are fairly good as well. If you're looking for labels, there's a company that in Australia called Long Story Short that I've just started using, and they're really lovely, very easy to deal with. So if you're looking for labeling to be really good, speak to them. They can also help you with design. You can also design it on Canva and then just send them the SVG file, which is quite easy. And I will do a video on how to actually set up that file to send over to people as well. Now, the places that I've found so far, so there's the Melbourne show, obviously. There's the Queensland and Sydney show. They'll all be the same in Australia, so just Google them. There's the Drag Expo that does Sydney, Melbourne and Queensland. That one's pretty good. The Reed Gift Fair, if you want to do wholesale, and I know the Reed Gift Fair, that they have ones all over the world that do this kind of thing. I've done the Reed one myself. It's very lucrative, but basically what happens is you're going to demonstrate all your products. So people don't buy it on the day. They can pay you on the day to buy a massive amount. So if it's a wholesale client, they might buy $10,000 worth on the day. So that's how it works. Yeah, looking at signs, Karen, it's a good idea. So if it's the Reed one, like I said, just have a look at that. That's roughly about 5,000 to 10,000, I think, a stall, something like that. Once again, it's big money. But this is how you're getting your products wholesale. If you're looking at wholesale and getting them out the door, lots of people that own shops, they come there and they are trying to find new products to put in their stores. So make sure your product looks good. I would say professional packaging is going to definitely help you and help everything. There's also like the Sexpo ones. A lot of people just do sort of character or rude word things. It's got to, obviously, if you're not comfortable with that, like I won't display my things there. It's not something I would do. But if that goes along with your line, then maybe. The Mind, Body and Spirit, that was pretty good. I found that one this morning when I was Googling. And that's, you would think that a lot of people with candles, soaps, room sprays, all about your body products. So, and a lot of that would be, vegan based and things like that. So they're pretty good. And a lot of these, I'm sure they would have one similar in your country. So Google them. These are in Australia. You can also find ones called like the Retail Quarter Gift and Lifestyle. So most of these do them once a year as well. So you might want to do one this month, in 2 months do another one, and so on. So you could literally, and I know girls that do that, they go from one to the other. So they're just continuously going to these places. And some people are earning $250,000 at these places, going from one to the other. So and of course there's the Gift Fair Melbourne, Sydney. So they're the ones that I found in Australia. But as I said, there is much more. I've just thought I would just give you some tips and tricks. But as I said, please don't be going there if you haven't put labeling on your products and you don't understand labeling. You really need to understand that before you step into the big world of, because you're competing with people that have been doing it for years. So just make sure that you're really happy, you know that your labeling is right. And there's plenty of places you can go to get advice. I can't give advice on that. I'm not a lawyer. So please do your due diligence on all of these things. And all these extra information I find out about, I do put over on Patreon. So you can come and join me over there if you like. And on my 2 highest levels, I actually do send a gift once a month. My first gifts will be going out on the 1st, which is Saturday. So on Saturday, we'll start bagging everything up to go to those levels. But like I said, if you want any information, other than what I give a lot on YouTube. But if you want to support me on Patreon, you can go over there and find out more info, of course. But I'm always giving away free information on YouTube to try and help a small business. I do also have the Australian Soaping and Candle Conference. So if you want to come over and check that out as well, I'll put that in the links later once it goes to YouTube. I will save this, so load it up. But I hope this has helped all of you just understand a little bit more about where you can vendor, not just at a market. I personally don't do markets anymore. I don't find it to be lucrative enough for me. So that's why I don't. Do I have a limit how far I drive to a show? No. My daughter and I did a show in, thanks, Karen. We did a show in Sydney. Sydney took us 9.5 hours to drive there, a long way. So we had to stay in a motel. So this is the thing. You need to include your motels, your petrol, everything on how it works. That's okay, lady, my love. You are so welcome. So just, add all those costs in, whether it's hotels, food, babysitting if you need to pay someone to mind your kids while you're at these expos. I know there's a lot of single parents that do a lot of these expos. I meet a lot of them that tell me they're single parents. You need a square machine. A lot of people pay, through Expos. So, you need a square machine, even if it's just on your phone and you have that little square device. That's what I use. You don't need a full machine. But set them up and just make sure they're gorgeous. My daughter is doing the Melbourne show, so I hope I'll be able to go over and take a video for everyone so that I can show what she's doing. But I will be at the Drag Festival myself this August in Melbourne. So if you want to come and see me on the 12th, I think it's the 12th and 13th, that's where I will actually be as a vendor, and I'll try and bring a video after I do that one a little bit. Anyway, I will leave you all, my loves. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday or a Saturday night if you're in the US, and I'll see you next time. So remember, 2 weeks' time, we'll be back here for our Sunday chat. Bye.